and it was the week before Christmas. Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint podcast. How y'all day going, man? I appreciate you for stopping by. I appreciate you for clicking on the video, watching the podcast, listening to the podcast. I hope y'all having a dope day, man. It's great to be back, man. Thursday night. So the main focus of this podcast, Thursday night football. Shit was fire. The last Thursday night football game of the year. We got a Saturday night football game this week, I believe. Chiefs, Chargers in LA. SoFi Stadium, best stadium in the NFL. I haven't said that enough the past couple weeks. It was a fucking show, especially in the fourth quarter. And then I was watching First Take. What's the name of the show? Undisputed. I was watching Undisputed today. And this dude Skip Bayless said he wasn't impressed by Herbert or Patrick Mahomes last night. And instantly I cut the video off and I was like, bro, you really cannot teach this type of hate, bro. You really can't teach this type of hate. It's unbelievable, bro. But anyways, it's the same dude who bowed at the altar of Baker Mayfield, but he wasn't impressed by those two quarterbacks. Either way, we're going to be talking about the Thursday night football game, which was an absolute fucking show last night. To me, last night was the game of the year. Now, there was a lot of different things that happened in this game that could have made people say, nah, that's not the game of the year. But to me, it felt like the game of the year. Like, that shit was legit. And we're going to be talking about Urban Myer. Because, boy, was I right on that one. And we got a lot to talk about with Urban Myer. Yeah, I had to know I was going to drop a podcast talking about that motherfucker. Had to know. I've been talking about that motherfucker all year. And it's a lot to talk about with that. The Jags about to get a whole episode basically dedicated to him. But first, you got to start off by saying I appreciate y'all for clicking on this. I appreciate y'all for listening to this. If you fucking with this, like, subscribe, share. Now let's get into it. The Chiefs, bro. Pat Mahomes is now 12-0 on the road in divisional games, bro. That is insane. And listen, I did have a feeling that this could have turned into a blowout. It did not turn into a blowout. I'm happy that it didn't turn into a blowout. And what this showed me was, and it's something that's real funny, interesting about this game that I'm going to get to in a second. But what this game showed me was that motherfucking Justin Herbert, motherfucker's legit. Like, and I already knew he was legit. Obviously, I think he a young stud. One of the young GOATs. But I wasn't too sure when it came to the coaching and things around, which actually kind of reaffirmed some of the things that I was thinking. But nonetheless, you got to see these two motherfuckers play each other for the next 10 years, basically, bro. So that's exciting when you think about that. And I was also looking at this game thinking about how the fact that Lamar probably not going to be healthy on Sunday. So he probably not going to be playing against Green Bay. And so that's going to rob us of Aaron Rodgers taking on Lamar Jackson, which really pisses me off. And then I'm looking at these reports saying that he haven't practiced. And I'm at the point where if Lamar cannot practice, they should not keep marching Lamar out there. And I get it. Lamar Jackson is the best chance we have at winning, which say more about this team than anything. But if this man is not prepared, what I'm basically saying is you shouldn't have somebody take a test that they haven't been able to prepare or study for. That's not fair. They're going to fail that test more than likely. Especially if it's things that they've never seen. Or things that they haven't seen in a minute that they would need a refresher on. You keep basically asking Lamar Jackson to go out there and take and pass and be perfect on tests that he's not being able to prepare for because of illnesses, now injuries, and different things of that nature. So I just don't think he should be able to be trotted out there every week if this man cannot get through practices and shit. Because the timing them been off with receivers at times. We've seen the Cleveland game. Greg Roman is doing him no favors with the play calling. And it's very interesting when you look at the play call, because boy, I was talking about the play calling a couple weeks ago and a couple episodes ago, and I compared last episode. I compared I talked about the play calling that they do over there in Kansas City. But I just want to hammer it home again because Kansas City probably is my favorite offense to watch in the NFL. And it's probably my favorite offensive operation the last couple weeks to look at more specifically. Because when you look at the fact that Pat Mahomes, now mind you, Pat Mahomes' numbers this season is still insane for somebody who's struggling. It's just like the Aaron Rodgers thing. Aaron Rodgers done been so great throughout his career numbers wise and on the field and the eye test and shit like that. Yeah, but just when you look at his stats, they so insane that when he have like a year where he throw like 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, we think, oh, that's a down year for Aaron Rodgers. Well, Pat Mahomes has done thrown 30-plus touchdowns, 13 interceptions, over 4,000 yards, and we think that's a bad year for him or a down year for him. So that's just how incredibly insane he done been throughout his career. But I want to say the last month has clearly, month and some weeks, is clearly Pat Mahomes haven't been Pat Mahomes. Yeah, he done had great games against the Raiders, but the Raiders are a bad team. But against most of these teams, Pat Mahomes done been less than Patrick Mahomes this season. So I said that the play calling needed to improve. Like, you can't say because of how great Pat Mahomes been that it's all on Pat Mahomes to be better. That's what I've been saying about Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert when he was struggling a little bit, even though he having a great season. I'm not saying these dudes are struggling all together like having a bad season. When I say they're struggling, I'm saying they're not playing up to their standards. You know what I'm saying? But I've said multiple times, it can't just be on these young quarterbacks to get it right. You can't just look at them and say, hey, figure it out. Throw the ball better. Read the coverages better. Blah, blah. It can't be that way because other motherfuckers get paid too. Not just these young quarterbacks. Mind you, none of these young quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken, because Pat Mahomes could be the outlier, but I don't think he is. None of these motherfuckers done been in the league for even a full 6 years. Or 5. I think the closest one to 5 full starts in their career is Pat Mahomes. And I think this year would be his 5th full year as a starter. Maybe next year. I think it's this year because Lamar's this is Lamar's 4th full year as a starter, I believe. No, I think this is Lamar's 3rd full year as a starter. So I don't even think Pat is at 5 full years as a starter yet. So you see what I'm saying? Either way, these dudes haven't even put in half of a decade's worth of full starts yet. But we judge them so highly because of how great they've been. The only quarterback that don't get held to these type of standards is Baker Mayfield, who was drafted number 1 overall in the draft. That's what's real funny to me. Mahomes wasn't drafted number 1. Neither was Lamar. Neither was Herbert. Neither was Kyler. Neither was what's my man's name? Josh Allen. But for some reason, they get held to a higher standard, which they should because they've proven that they are far better than Baker Mayfield and far better than their draft stock. But Baker Mayfield was the number 1 pick in the draft. And the motherfuckers never lived up to the standards of these other quarterbacks. I just wanted to point that out. But because of how great these motherfuckers done been, we hold them to a certain type of standard. Now, I said it's up to other players, however, because of how young they've been, they gonna still make mistakes and shit like that. So you need other people to do their jobs also. Travis Kelce can run a better route here and there. McCole Hardman can be better. The running back game can be better. The offensive play calling can be better. Andy Reid, Bieniemy, Tyreek, everybody else who rely on Pat Mahomes or all these other quarterbacks who are heavily relied on, other people can be better to help these dudes out when you see how great these dudes are on a regular basis and how much they make the game so much easier for everybody else. That's what I've been saying it for the last month basically. Last 3 weeks, definitely. That it's not just up to Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. It's not just up to them to be the better when they struggling. Other people get paid too. And when you look at the game calling for Eric Bieniemy last night, because I know some people still say it's Andy Reid, so that's the only reason that I always say Reid and Bieniemy. But I think Eric Bieniemy, EB, is the play caller. I call him EB. But I'll just say Andy Reid and EB. Whoever the fuck calling the plays over there for the Chiefs. Look at how they done figured out how to get Pat Mahomes going again. Last night, they started off by throwing those screens, those receiver screens, the short routes and shit like that, right? But if you look at how the game, because Pat Mahomes put up 400 yards last night, 31 of 47, 410 yards, 8.7 average, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was a crazy pick by the Chargers player. But when you look at how they started the game and how they built throughout that game. Now, what I will say was the funny thing about this game was there was a lot of points left on the board last night, specifically by the Chargers. The Chargers were atrocious in the red zone last night. I mean, gee, it felt like the Chargers left damn near 20-something points on the board. They definitely left 12 points. What's crazy is, with all the points they left on the board, if they had to just kick 2 of the field goals that they chose not to take, they probably win this game. Like, the Chargers gave away or just left so many points on the board. At one point in time, both teams was 1 for 5 on fourth downs, but it was really that the Chargers had missed all those fourth downs because the Chiefs had only gone for it on fourth down once. Like, it was insane. Like, I don't understand. Like, I like Brandon Staley, and it was Troy Aikman alluded to it last night when he said the man looked stone-faced, like he looked unfazed by going for it on fourth. And I respect that, because if that's something that you do, do what you do. However, I think it do come a point in time where you got to start managing some of these games a little bit better, because now it's starting to seem like if you go back over some of these losses, you know, you kick a field goal here and there, you kick the ball off and let your defense try to do something, you know, have better field position to work with, or to force the other team to have to play with, then, you know, maybe you come out with one of these wins because the team struggled to get the ball up the field or make a mistake getting up the field, or anything could happen. It's starting to feel like Brandon Staley just throwing away points at this point. Like, I'm all for going forward in certain situations. Like the first play of they first drive where what's my man's name who had got hurt? Because a dude had got hurt last night. I think Fromm got hurt last night. So prayers up to him, because that shit was scary. Man's eyes was closed and man's went limp, couldn't move. They had to stretcher him out. So, but he dropped the fourth down touchdown catch, I believe. That would have got them 6 points. So you missed that one. Then you missed another one to get picked. I mean, it was just so many different misses that I feel like, especially in the red zone. Like, they was in the lead at one point in time in this game and they didn't choose to take the points. I think they was in the red zone like 3 different times where they chose not to take points and they had the lead. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was even confused when the Chiefs chose not to take the lead when they went forward on one of the fourth downs in the red zone. And Pat Mahomes threw one of the worst passes, you know, you'll probably ever see from him in his career. He missed a wide open Tyreek Hill in the end zone. He just short hopped the pass. But I don't even know why they didn't take the points right there. Like, and listen, if the play work, it work. I get that, but I thought they was just gonna take the lead right there because the game had been so close. And with the way they defense had played, like, and listen, Justin Herbert did have a good game, especially in the fourth quarter specifically. But I mean, he really wasn't like. This wasn't a game where I wouldn't have said, well, I can't trust my defense. Like, I don't think the Chiefs was in a position where they could have said, like, oh, we just don't trust the defense. And for the most part, they wasn't really going for it on fourth down until they absolutely really had to. I just thought they was going to take the points on that fourth down. I mean, on that red zone drive. But, you know, if Pat Mahomes make that play, we ain't even talking about this. So that's why I'm saying I'm not really mad at them for going for it, because 9 times out of 10, Pat going to make that throw. I just thought they was going to go ahead and take the lead on that play. But I ain't mad at it. I'm not mad at it, because when you look at the positioning and all that type of shit, it worked out. But the way this game, you know, ended. And matter of fact, fuck that. Go back to the play calling, because I want to keep addressing that. The way they worked the field finally, how Mahomes started short, you know, doing the short routes and shit like that. And then at the end of the game, they finally started them 5-yard routes, them little short routes and shit like that. Them bitches started turning into 10-yard routes, 12-yard routes, 10, 8, 9. And that's when Pat Mahomes had it. Pat Mahomes had some dimes in this game also. He had a fucking play to Tyreek Hill on the sideline to the left. and it looked like it was three defenders right there, right? Two in the front, one in the back. And Pat Mahomes had to squeeze a ball in there. He did it twice, really, because it was a play where Kelsey ran an out route towards the really not even an out route. It was a what do you call? I think it was an out route because I think he started lined up on that side. Because if he lined up on the opposite side, it's not a out route. It would have been a post route or a crosser. If he lined up on the same side that he went outside on, then it would be out route, and I think that's what it was. Either way, Pat Mahomes threw like a real sharp throw in there as Kelsey turned. But the throw he threw to like Pat has some throws in his game. So that's why I can't be, you really can't be bitching about the one that he missed. Because the throw he had to fucking Tyreek Hill with that, basically in that coverage, the way it was the two low, one high, and it was like he had a small chance. Like it could have been picked off basically if he missed this throw. Or throw this a little high or a little short. And he put that bit right on the money. And I'm like, phew. And also Tyreek Hill ran a route in this game that was as clean as any route I probably done seen in my life. Or this year alone, I know. Like the route was so clean and he got wide open on that bit. It was he broke 24 off. Like that's how clean this shit was. 24 basically fell down or stumbled because of how clean that shit was. And that shit was clean. I'm telling you that. Bro, you know what? After watching this game, I realized, and I've been realized this, but this game really hammered it home because most of the Chiefs' offense was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Like, that was the Chiefs' offense last night. Travis Kelce had 10 catches for 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Tyreek Hill had 12 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown. That was the majority of the offense last night for the Chiefs. Like, them motherfuckers got loose. And when I watched this game, because nobody could fucking tackle Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had to walk off touchdown in overtime. And I said, going into the overtime, I was saying to myself, I said, if the Chiefs get this ball, because they done scored touchdowns on their last 3 drives. I said, if the Chiefs get this ball, it's over. And the reason I felt like that was because I done seen Lamar Jackson when he finally get it going and he look unstoppable. And I know that if this going to overtime and he get this ball, if he get it first, the game's ending. He did it against the Colts. And I knew, I had that feeling. I said, we done seen it with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. If they get this ball, it's over. I said to myself, when I saw Pat Mahomes take that knee and was willing to kill them last couple seconds and not risk a turnover, nothing like that, I said to myself, yeah, Pat Mahomes and them boys feeling it. The play calling is elite right now. The receivers know what their jobs is. The others know what their jobs is. I say, yeah, if they get this ball back, it's over for the Chiefs. I mean, it's over for the Chargers. They're not going to have a chance. The Chiefs are not going to get this ball first and not score. I had that exact feeling. I should have tweeted it. But they got that ball back. They got the ball first when it hit tails. Melvin Ingram, of course, the former Charger, went out there to call it. And as the football guys would have it, they did not give the ball back. And it was so crazy because they started the overtime without Tyreek Hill on the field. He was getting his foot worked on. It looked like my boy was in immense pain. But, as long as you got Travis Kelce. As long as you got Travis Kelce, bro. And then when Tyreek Hill come out there, he, boom, hit him for a big play over the a big out route. And then, boom, next play, Travis Kelce walks it off. And I don't know how this man is so hard to tackle, but every single Charger after they missed them first couple tackles just was at the worst possible angles you could take. And I guess them angles was because you don't expect Travis Kelce, a tight end as big as he is, to be able to move and get through those type of and make those type of cuts like that. But boy, the walk off. And this dude Travis Kelce is electric, bro. This dude could be a wrestler, bro. Watching this game though. And that's the thing, bro. That's why every time people talk about the best receiving cores and the best offensive weapons, you always have to put the Chiefs up there because it don't matter who the others is. As long as they got, and it's like I said about the Browns. When you have Odell Beckham, all those other dudes on the offense look a lot better because of how teams going to defend Odell. When you have Travis Kelce and when you have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, Everybody else looks better because of how you have to defend those two, and you know what those two can do. And when I was watching this game last night, I said to myself, these two motherfuckers might be the absolute worst two dudes to have to defend in the NFL. Like, these might be the biggest nightmares, the biggest game changers in the NFL right now. And it might not even be close. Like, to me, these two dudes remind me of Prime Julio. These two dudes remind me of Prime Julio, where you knew that that's where they was going. You knew that's what the game plan was, and you still couldn't stop it. Like, you got him double covered with Luke Kuechly, the best linebacker in the game, and another dude, and he still just go up and take the ball, snatch it, and run through the tape in the end zone. That's what these two dudes remind me of. You can do all the doubling, all the game planning, all you want to try to stop these two dudes. Eventually, the dam just breaks, the bridge just rots, and it just goes to hell, because at the end of the day, you just got to find a way to beat these two motherfuckers one-on-one, and eventually it just will not happen. It don't matter what you commit to these dudes. The play calling is just too good. The play calling will always find ways to get these two motherfuckers open, which is the difference between Greg Roman and a good offensive play caller. Because you see, Eric Bieniemy said to himself at some point in time in the season, Pat Mahomes needs more out of me, because he's not at his best right now. So I need to call better plays. So now it's not just Pat Mahomes having to throw into tight windows and make perfect throws and be extraordinary and be out of the extra extraordinary and throw a cape on every play. No. Now Pat Mahomes can rely on just having to make the right throw, because it is guys wide open now. If you just rely on the play calling, guys will be where they're supposed to be. You just put the ball where it's supposed to be. Bam. And that's exactly what's happening, because Travis Kelce and fucking Tyreek Hill are the biggest fucking nightmare, the scariest nightmares in the NFL right now. Those two motherfuckers is not real right now, bro. Like, those three motherfuckers carried the game last night. Mahomes, Kelce, and Hill for the offense. That was the offense. It's unbelievable how good those three dudes is. But specifically, I'm giving credit to, I'm not taking no credit away from Pat Mahomes. I love Pat Mahomes. But I'm specifically talking about these two motherfucking weapons that are Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. They unbelievable, bro. Last night was the proof. Like, and that's what I'm saying. I love Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. The running game for the Chargers last night racked up 192 yards. I don't know why they didn't choose to run the ball a little bit more towards the end of that game on that last drive. They just put it all in Herbert's hand. And listen, I get it. I think it is a little syndrome going around right now in NFL locker rooms called the be better than Pat Mahomes or be just as good as Pat Mahomes syndrome, where every coach and every coordinator want to prove that they quarterback that is just as good as Pat Mahomes. And if you keep falling into that trap, you will continue to lose big games against Pat Mahomes, because Pat Mahomes ain't trying to prove that he better than Pat Mahomes. He is Pat Mahomes. So they're not going to have to call plays to prove that Pat Mahomes is better than Pat Mahomes, because Pat Mahomes knows who he is. So as much as I like those receivers for the Chargers, they just not the fuckers for the fucking Chiefs, bro. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and those dudes is studs. Jared Cook, studs. They not Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And Travis Kelce is damn near a receiver at this point. Like, motherfucker is damn near a receiver. He was close to breaking Shannon Sharp's single game receiving yards record. And what's impressive about Travis Kelce is this motherfucker get a lot of yards after the catch. He had two huge catches in the fourth quarter. Well, in the fourth quarter and the overtime, because he had to walk off in overtime. But he had a huge run after the catch in the fourth quarter, bro. Where it's like the Chargers just forgot how to tackle and chose not to tackle him until he got to the 1 yard line. Like, bro, and then I guess they thought that the flag that was thrown was on the Chiefs. No, that's why you cannot rely. You got to keep playing even when you see a flag thrown, bro. When you get half-hearted because you think a play had to be called holding on the offense, that's when shit like this happen. And it was on the Chargers. They declined the penalty. First down at the 1. That's what I'm saying. That motherfucker Travis Kelce is built different, bro. This dude's yards after the catch is insane. His hands, insane. His route running, insane. Like, Travis Kelce is an unbelievable route runner. And that's why every time I see, for one, the tight ends done been having some fucking weeks the last couple weeks. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. It's like they done had back-to-back great weeks. First it was Andrews, then it was Kittle. Now it's Kelce. Like, these motherfuckers showing out. Travis Kelce, though, rightfully so, was the one with the third, because this dude is the best tight end in the game. Like, it's hard for me not to say that this motherfucker not one of the best receivers in the game. And the only reason I say one of the best is because I don't want to disrespect his teammate, Tyreek Hill, who last night, undoubtedly to me, is the best receiver in the NFL. Because as much as I like DeAndre Hopkins, and y'all know I love Julio Jones, but I understand Julio is no longer the best receiver in the NFL. He can't stay healthy. One of the biggest parts of being the best in the NFL at a position is being available. And if you're not available for the majority of the season, I can't continue to call you the best receiver in the NFL. So as much as it hurts me to say that, Julio is no longer the best receiver in the NFL. However, I thought it was D-Hop. I can't take D-Hop over over Tyreek Hill, for the simple reason, as good as D-Hop is, he don't get separation like Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce can get wide the fuck open off of the fact that he can run clean ass routes. Like, I can't say that D-Hop run his routes no cleaner than Tyreek Hill run his routes, because Tyreek Hill routes end up getting him 10 yards open most of the time because of how clean he can run them bitches. Like, I think some people think Tyreek Hill is just a run right up the just a all vert receiver. Like, he only running streaks. He only going right up the... No. Tyreek Hill is running multiple routes in the route tree and getting wide open because of how great he can run his routes and how fast he is. Like, I just think the complete package wise, and the motherfucker's hands is legit. Like, his hands is just as great as D-Hop's in my opinion. And he got great toe tap swag. Like, he beat him out by a tight margin, I guess. Not really for me. To me, I would definitely take, and I don't want to compare because I think both of them is the two best receivers in the league right now. But I definitely think I would take Tyreek Hill before I take any other receiver, bro. And Travis Kelce probably would be the next person I would take, because them two motherfuckers to me is just insanely good at their jobs, bro. Like, insanely great at their jobs, bro. Because it feel like good is just understating how great they are, bro. Like, if you watched that game last night, bro, you walked away from it saying how the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl. That's what I got from it. That's legit what I got from it. Like, the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. There's no two ways around it. Like, the Chiefs are headed back to the Super Bowl. And shout out to the Chargers defense, because I thought the Chargers defense played a pretty decent game. Like, I thought they got stops that they needed to get at certain point in times. I thought that they did enough, but it's just at certain times, man, you cannot stop greatness. And Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are just great at what they do, bro. And, hey, sometimes the better men win. And to me, I think it was a lot of points left on the board last night, or on the field last night. But the better dudes, because going into overtime, I told you, I just felt like the Chiefs were playing the better offensive game. Like, I like Herbert, and Herbert was hitting throws and shit like that, but they would get stagnant at certain points. And the running game was great for them. Like I said, they racked up 192 yards for them last night. You can't really ask for more than a 200 day out of your run game. That's huge. But Pat Mahomes in the fourth quarter looked like he would not be denied. For every answer that Herbert had, he had a response. It just felt like last night was one of those, I will not be swept this season by the young buck in my division. That's what it felt like. It felt like Pat Mahomes was on a mission. Like, and that shit was amazing. Like, to me, that was the game of the year, man. That was so far, this got to be the game of the year to me so far. Like, shit was amazing. That fourth quarter was everything. You had it all. And it was basically a comeback for Pat Mahomes. Because the Chiefs was down 7, 2 minutes and 19 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
they score. And that's when Hill ran that clean ass route. The Chargers got the ball back with a tie game with 1:16 left. They ain't do shit with it. That was when the first punt came with 25 seconds left in the fourth. Chiefs said, we good. They got to a certain point. They didn't feel like they could do anything else. Kneeled the ball out. Walked it off in overtime, bro. So this was basically a comeback win, and the Chiefs was losing for the majority of this game. Like I said, Pat Mahomes, 31 of 47, 410, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 8.7 yards a pop. And the interception that he threw was just a crazy one. But that was a fucking game. They first in the AFC. I am not surprised. They won the games that they were supposed to win, even when they were struggling. To me, the Chiefs are just a great team. They figured it out like I knew they was going to do. I said it in the beginning of the season. For some reason, they had these rocky starts to the season. Pat Mahomes had been out of the ordinary bad, or not to his standards, great. But they done started to figure it out like I knew they would. Man, that's what great teams do. And now they heading into the playoffs. I think they're going to finish as the first in the AFC. And right now, they are my pick to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie. They, to me, look like the best team in the AFC. I don't know what the fuck that happened to the Bills. The Ravens are clearly too banged up for me to pick them against the Chiefs again. The Patriots defense is amazing, but I'm not banking on Mac Jones over Pat Mahomes. And then I think it's going to be, I would like to see a rematch between the Patriots and the Chargers. Because I would like to see how, but then again, I really think Bill Belichick would end up out coaching Brandon. Brandon Staley's starting to get to that point to me where he getting out coached by Andy Reid in big games. It's looking like that might start being the case, because last night was a big game. Bill Belichick might be able to out coach him again in a big game. Like, it's just, I got to see Brandon Staley in the playoffs, because I'm getting intrigued by this coaching by him the last couple games. But either way, it was a great game. Justin Herbert showed out. I didn't write his stats down, but he had a good game. The running game, to me, was the big thing for the Chargers, though, last night. 192 yards and all. That was big. I don't know how they ended up losing. Well, yeah, because they left a lot of points out there on fourth downs and going for it instead of kicking the field goals and shit. But, hey, I guess they just really did not trust their kicker, or they really had a shit ton of faith in Herbert in that offense. Either way, lost opportunities and missed points. And that'll get you beat every time. So, last night was a fucking work of art to me for the Chiefs offense in that fourth quarter, bro. Specifically, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill. Unfucking real. And the play calling by Bieniemy and Reed, man. But let's talk about this motherfucker, Urban Myer. Why did it not work out in Jacksonville? And I don't know if somebody's surprised it didn't work out in Jacksonville, then I'm surprised that you surprised that it didn't work out in Jacksonville. Because I've been saying all year that shit wasn't going to work out. And I said, and you know, people are going to talk a lot about Urban Meyer, and rightfully so. Maybe Urban Meyer really is a dickhead and shit like that. And from everything I done heard, and from some of the moves he done made, yeah, motherfucker clearly is a dickhead. And I think that he had no intentions of being a head coach when he came into the NFL anyways. He had every intention of being a dictator over there in a sorry-ass organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Which is why I've said all year, Trevor Lawrence is in by far the worst situation. And the reason I knew he was in the worst situation is because of a big thing. People want to say, because one of the biggest reasons you had to fire Urban Meyer, because I think this really came down to the NFL letting Tony Khan know, calling that motherfucker up and saying, fire him. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you release to say how it happened. Fire him. We will help you with the lawyer and the paperworks. Fire him. And the reason I believe that had to happen is because of what I've been saying all year. Trevor Lawrence. Some people will say that Trevor Lawrence is regressing. I will say that's a stupid statement. And I will say it's not just a stupid statement. Because I don't mean no offense by saying it's stupid. I think that's a easy statement to make. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has regressed. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has started to develop. That's the problem. The problem is not that, excuse me.
The problem is not that Trevor Lawrence has regressed. Trevor Lawrence hasn't regressed because he hasn't progressed, whatever you want to call it, however you want to use it. However you want to pronounce that word. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is developed. So you can't say that he done regressed if he is not developed yet. Which is the problem. You bring your head coach in and you bring, let's start it like this. You draft Trevor Lawrence as the first pick in the draft. You then bring in a rookie head coach. Not just a rookie head coach as far as like he's never been a head coach before. This motherfucker's never coached in the NFL before. And you bring him in because Urban Myer basically had this job, I believe, before the fucking season was over, if I remember the hype around that shit last year. Which was always insane to me that Urban Myer, who was going through the shit he was going through in college, had already had an NFL job locked up, basically. Which speaks to the hiring practices of Tony Khan. Or Shad Khan, whatever the owner's name is. Yeah, Shad Khan. So that go again. That to me, that speak to his bad ownership too, because this motherfucker was so excited to hire a dude who had never proven nothing in the NFL and was just there because of what he did in college. Motherfucker, that's not even Nick Saban. That's not Dabo Swinney, and I wouldn't hire Dabo Swinney as my head coach, to be completely honest with you, in the NFL yet. These dudes, to me, would have to start off at a positional coaching. Like, I love to hire Dabo Swinney as my offensive OC for a couple years. But I'm not with hiring the head coach right out of the college. Unless he done worked in the NFL before. And done worked on the NFL coaching staff and done been a part of the NFL and just went down to the college level because that was the better opportunity and more money, then I'm not really interested in hiring an offensive or a coach from the college ranks, because I don't think college football is anything like the NFL. I don't. Now, some people might think otherwise. That's your opinion, and that's your right to that opinion. I'm cool with that. I don't agree, though. And so, to me, that was the first misstep. When you bring in a rookie quarterback and you bring in a fucking rookie head coach that's rookie to the whole NFL thing. Because it was definitely different moves you could have made. Eric Bieniemy should not still be the Chiefs' offensive coordinator right now. Eric Bieniemy should have been the head coach of the Jaguars right now. It is no shot Eric Bieniemy will be the head coach. Will be the OC next year for the Chiefs. I truly believe he will get a head coaching job this offseason. But there's no way you can convince me that he shouldn't have been the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach when they knew they was bringing in Trevor Lawrence. I don't understand how you can if he is the OC and you give all that credit. Because for one, I understand some jackasses give all the credit to Andy Reid, even though Andy Reid done giving the credit to EB. But if you one of the people who love the offense of the Chiefs and you think it's so great, and I done seen people give Matt Nagy his credit for that shit, then I don't understand why Eric Bieniemy don't get that same level of respect when his offense done look better with the Chiefs than Nagy's did. I don't understand that. And now you're looking at EB evolve the offense even more to play a bigger part in helping Mahomes get back on track. So if EB don't have a job by the end the start of next season, then we really gonna have a problem. Because that'll just be absolutely insane. And then it would be no excuse I want to hear for people saying, oh, well, the Chiefs can't be beat. Yeah, you're right. Because the EB's still over there and y'all for some reason won't take that motherfucker out of the arsenal for them. Y'all continue to let them have that ammunition. And so, to me, Jacksonville got some choices to make. In the offseason, I think, obviously, you're going to get a new head coach. Trevor Lawrence should be able to play a small part, not a huge part, but he should have some say, just like Herbert. Just like Fields, and who the head coach should be. Somebody who he trusts, somebody who he can work with. If you get another guy just off a big name appeal and shit like that, then you're going to have another problem. And this is why the Jacksonville Jaguars are who they are.
Because like I said, it's people out there who could have taken the position of head coach for this team that was far better candidates than Urban Meyer. And when you talk about Urban Meyer, just understand this. He covered for Zach Smith, somebody who was beating his wife while he was at Ohio State, and said he knew nothing about the situation, when indeed he did know shit about the situation. That's the type of person you hired to be the head coach of your organization and to lead a young quarterback and help with his development and growth. A grown man with character issues. Then he hired a strength and conditioning coach that was accused of racism and bullying in college, and that motherfucker had to step down the next day. So not only do you know the motherfucker had character issues in college, but now he's showing you he's still got bad decision making in the pros. Because for some reason, to him, a man who was accused of being a racist and a bully, that wasn't, a strong enough offenses for him not to hire this man. So now he already showing you that he valued his relationships over moral and ethics and shit like that. And that's who they hired to be the coach, to lead men and young men, to try to develop. Because one of the jobs of the coach is not just to pile up wins and stats and shit like that. One of the jobs of a fucking head coach in any level is to develop character in individuals, whether it be females to being developed from young women to older women, or I'm trying to think of the phrase, develop them into outstanding adult women. And when it's the same for young men, you trying to develop them into adult men. You trying to develop them into I don't know why I'm stumbling on these words right now. It's really when I said the female thing when I fucked up, because I didn't want to say something where people like, oh, I can't believe you addressed female women like that. Because I even heard the females hate it when they say, look at those females. I heard that people hate that shit, and I can't understand. That shit is a mystery to me, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a box I do not care to enter in, a world I do not care to enter into. So I'm gonna just say it like this. Any job of any coach, to me, one of the biggest jobs of a head coach is to develop young adults into adults. Like, you're a part of that development. You're just as important to them as a parent, basically, because you are a parent to them, basically. And so that's the type of person you should be trying to hire. They hired the complete opposite when they hired Urban Meyer. And they didn't care about his past. They didn't care about the shit he was clearly did when he got hired. And then when you lose to Cincinnati on the road, and you're supposed to fly back with your team, and you stop at your bar, and you got a young lady dancing on your lap or whatever. Now, I could care less about the shit that the young lady did. To me, she did nothing wrong in this situation. She did nothing wrong in this situation and should not be victimized or criticized or hated on for anything that she did in that video. Because she did nothing wrong. She was not out of place. Urban Meyer was. You see, she wouldn't have been able to do what she did if Urban Meyer punk ass wasn't where he was. You see what I'm saying? Urban Meyer should have been on a plane with his team. He wasn't. Because Urban Meyer believed he was bigger than the team. Urban Meyer didn't see himself as a head coach of that team. He didn't see himself as a part of that team. He looked at himself as the dictator of this team, or the owner of this team, basically. He had a God complex, if you will. And that's a problem. But that's why I say you can't just say it's Urban Meyer, because Shad Khan hired him. What did that say about your hiring practice, that it was so easy for a motherfucker like that to get a job in the NFL? What do it say about you as an owner that it was so easy for you to hire a motherfucker like that in the NFL? You let this motherfucker stunt an entire year of Trevor Lawrence's growth. And let's throw Trevor Lawrence aside. Think about all the other rookies on this team. Think about all the other young dudes on this team. This man brought in Tim Tebow, a 30-plus-year-old player who was not good in the NFL, brought him in to play a tight end after he played quarterback, and was away from the NFL for what, a decade plus? That wasn't a hire because of competition and shit like that. That was a fucking narcissist type of hire. That was him hiring his buddy.
which is the same thing he did for the strength and conditioning coach, which is why he covered up for one of his coaches at Ohio State, which is why he done made a lot of the decisions that he has made, because he values his friendships and the people that he likes over business and all those other ethics and morals and shit like that. He didn't care that it was tight ends on his team that actually was who was trained and coming into the league to play tight end, who was trying to get a job. He cared about his buddy Tebow wanting to be back in the NFL and trying to get him a job. And that's a problem. Not just on Urban Meyer, on Shad Khan. Because Shad Khan didn't fire Urban Meyer as soon. Not to mention, Shad Khan gave the motherfucker 6 years. How do you give Urban Meyer that many? And I understand people will say, oh, well, they had to lure him away from college. Well, let that motherfucker stay in college. Because like I said, that's not Nick Saban. That's not Nick Saban. And I also want to say, if people say, oh, he got away with this type of behavior in college, well, they need to do an investigation into colleges. Because if coaches is getting away with treating young men like this just because young men don't make millions of dollars and they can't go at a coach like people can in the NFL, then we have a problem. Because that's not coaching. That's bullying. That's being a dictator. That's leading by fear tactics and shit like that. You should not be able to do that to young men in college or young women in college sports. If that's some shit that's happening, they need to do an investigation into that shit. They worried about motherfuckers getting paid on the side and worried about getting paid for their likeness and making money and shit. And they got coaches running rampant in college like this. Because this is unacceptable. And I don't want to hear somebody say, oh, well, they couldn't take coaching back in the day. What? This is not coaching. Because there's no development being had on this team. So what is being coached? This is a man who was stroking his ego, whose position made him believe that he was more powerful than he actually was, who made himself believe he was bigger than he actually was. Like I said, Urban Meyer had no intentions of coaching this team. But every intentions of walking around as the owner, basically, of this team. As the leader of these guys. But basically, he didn't see himself as a team. He showed you that when he said, I'm not riding back with this fucking team. Or flying back with this fucking team after they just lost to Cincinnati. He just showed you that. And that's why you had to fire him. And like I said, I don't even think Shad Khan would have fired him if not for somebody from the NFL calling in and saying, get this motherfucker out of here. I truly believe that. And this motherfucker's a laughing stock. That's what people are doing right now. This is the AEW guy who owns that wrestling company and can't run a football team. Dude's a joke right now. And the reason I think it was, and I saw Ryan Clark talking about this on ESPN on First Take a little bit. And I agree with most of the shit he was saying about Trevor Lawrence. But I do think he was right when he said this is one of the most important picks in the last couple decades. I don't think it's the most important pick ever, but it is an important pick for the NFL in this sense. Because I talked to y'all about how in the NBA, it's rules in place to where a superstar will not be held down. That's why superstars in the NBA have so much say. Because the NBA understands that superstars are what drive the business. Not the owner, not the logo, unless it's probably the Lakers. But other than that, it's superstars that drive the money, that up the sales, that get the ratings. Now, the Lakers are a different entity, as is the Celtics, really, because the Lakers sell tickets because they are the Lakers. Motherfuckers was selling tickets when they had Chris Kaman on the team. So the Lakers are a bit different. But for everybody else, mostly, it's not the teams that's selling. Like, you're not going to a game because it's the Grizzlies. You're going because Ja Morant is on the team. And all the other stuff. You're going to Celtics games nowadays. No, I can't use the Celtics because people will go to the Celtics games just because it's the Celtics. But you're going to the Nets games because Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie when he was playing. You know what I'm saying? So the NBA understands that the superstars are what drive sales. They are what sell the tickets. They sell the merch and all that type of shit. When you look at the NBA, it's too many rules and things in place to not allow where they're not going to allow a team to hold a superstar down. The situation with AD, the Pelicans thought that they was going to just be able to hold this man down for that year and probably further and just hold out that trade. The NBA stepped in basically under the scene and said, no. You're going to get away with holding, because they tried to sit him out and shit. and they was getting fined. Then he ended up getting hurt, which I thought they was faking an injury at first, but the motherfucker probably really was hurt knowing AD. But eventually he got hurt, and they actually had an excuse to sit him down the rest of the season. And I'm pretty sure the NBA said, you got this one, motherfucker, but he will be traded in the offseason if he does not play the start next year. Because the NBA knows you can't have a superstar or a star like AD who drives sales just sitting on a bench. You can't do that. The NBA never going to be a fan of that. That's why you fire Stan Van Gundy if you are the Pelicans owner or general manager, because you have a Zion Williamson. Not to mention there was a lot of expectations going in when you got Lonzo, you got B.I., and you got Zion. Now, Zion can't stay on the court for whatever reason, but it was also reported that Zion and the young dudes didn't like Stan Van Gundy. You know what they do? They fired Stan Van Gundy because it's not important. This is not back in the day where your coaches had a shit ton of power. Unless you Greg Popovich, very rare you have that type of power, because they don't care if Stan Van Gundy unhappy. They care if Zion Williamson, the guy who gonna put asses in seats and sell tickets and merch, is happy. So they're gonna fire you and get somebody over there that Zion Williamson likes. You see where I'm going? The Bucks aren't the ones selling the tickets. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the one selling the tickets. So they're going to make sure Giannis Antetokounmpo is happy. You want to know why they end up spending money and making trades and shit like that in Milwaukee? Because they don't want to get the one guy who putting asses in seats and selling out the arena. They don't want him to have on a different jersey. So they understand in the NBA, superstars are what drive the game, which is why so many rules in place, rules that we don't even really know about, but it's just unwritten rules and shit's under the same towards the owners and GMs to let them know, yeah, you can do all this talking and blah, 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 but you're not going to keep this superstar from playing. It's like I said about the Ben Simmons situation. Ben Simmons might not be playing for the Sixers right now, and I don't think he ever will play for the 76ers again. He might not play for the majority of the season. I can guarantee you, because you had the GM for the 76ers come out and say, Ben Simmons, we can run this out for his whole contract or something like that. No. You see, in the NBA, people want to talk about, oh, you should value a contract and blah, blah. The NBA done come to terms with the fact that owners don't value contracts, neither do GMs. So why should players be held to a different type of standard for not valuing the contract? When a superstar got a lot of years left on his deal, that means nothing anymore. The GM can bitch and complain about it and say, oh, we want him to honor his contract all they want to. The NBA done come to terms with the fact that owners and GMs don't honor contracts all the time. They sign players to long term. The players struggle 1 year and they immediately trade them the next, or release them in some cases, and talk about trading them in other cases. Kemba Walker didn't sign with the fucking Knicks to come off the bench, but that's where he coming off of right now. Owners, coaches, and GMs don't honor contracts all the time. And now that is not something that matters in the NBA for NBA players anymore, not honoring contracts. Ben Simmons not honoring that contract doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, because I promise you, the NBA is sitting back, and they are probably on the phone with the 76ers on a regular basis saying, you better find a way to play this man or trade this man, because we are not going to hold out a dude who is an all-star on a regular basis, who has a big fan base, who helps drive sales. Because I promise you, notice don't nobody talk about the 76ers as much about what they do on the court, right? Because y'all boy, Joel Embiid, who I told you was going to miss games, he already done started missing games. Joel Embiid, who y'all thought, who catered to the fans, who pandered to the fans rather, who y'all was cheering for because y'all tried to hate on Ben Simmons for some odd reason and try to make it out like he a bum. That guy who y'all thought was carrying the team by himself, yeah, now y'all seeing what it looked like when he carried. And that's why I'm praying he is forced to have to carry this team all year. Because then y'all see the value of a Ben Simmons, a dude who is a perennial all-star, perennial defender, top defender every year. Then you'll see the value. Because he should have won a Defensive Player of the Year already. I don't know how Rudy Gobert keep winning these some bitches. He got to have leaks on somebody. But it's unreal. Because Ben Simmons should have won the Defensive Player of the Year right now. It's like I said, y'all like to talk about his missing the playoffs and him not doing something in the playoffs. You need to remember Trae Young could have cooked y'all ass if not for the fact that Ben Simmons was the one holding him. So, The NBA have rules in place to where it's no way you're gonna hold a superstar down. They wouldn't let Houston do it with the Rocket, with James Harden. It's just no way. Superstars are going to get traded if they no longer want to play for a team. It does not matter how long it takes. They didn't let the Pacers and all these other teams. All these teams come to the realization eventually that you are either trading this player or you're going to have to find a way to work it out. And most of the times they ended up having to trade him because the player is already set on going to another team. And mind you, I always tell people, when it comes to these NBA players teaming up, what you need to realize is that was something built by the media. The media shit on these players when they don't win championships. It don't matter the excuses that they could have. It don't matter who they playing against. They always used to go at these players for not winning titles. You see how they treat and talk about Charles Barkley. Yeah, a lot of dudes give Charles Barkley respect, but a lot of people still joke and crack jokes on the fact that he never won a ring. Yeah, a lot of people hold that over his head. So KD said, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be a guy with this type of talent and not win a championship, because the media and the fans have made me believe that's what matters. That's all that matters. I can do all I want. I can do a whole bunch of successful shit in my career, but if I don't win a championship, none of it mattered. That's how the fans and the media treat it. So I can't blame KD for treating it the same way and making a move, or LeBron, or any other superstar that had to do what they had to do to get a ring. Everybody can't beat Curry, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, play for the same team, win rings. What? You dig? Everybody can't beat Mr. 2,977. You dig? Did it in 500 less games. But listen, man, back to fucking Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville situation, because we done talked about the bad ownership, basically, the bad hiring practices. Why would you hire a dude like this? He done given you every indication and reason not to hire him. But I think the ultimate thing came down to, like I said, in the NFL and the NBA, how stars drive, and they understand there's rules in place to let stars thrive. You're not going to hold a superstar down or a potential superstar down. Well, it's the same way the NFL to an extent. Stars don't have the power that they got in the NBA. However, the NFL is not about to let you hold a superstar down. They're not about to let you hold a dude who every indication was that Trevor Lawrence was going to be a no doubt, can't miss prospect. Future Hall of Famer. They already had his gold jacket made before he even was drafted. And they're looking at a situation where they haven't even seen the man begin to develop because of the situation he in. And they sitting back in the NFL front office and like, what is happening? Like, this was supposed to be a dude who can't miss. This was supposed to be a dude who put Jacksonville on the map. This was supposed to be a dude who resurrect Jacksonville like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. He was supposed to be one of our young studs, one of the young stars again. And it's not happening. And they had to figure out why it wasn't happening. And the reason why it wasn't happening was very obvious. Now, listen, I said when Urban Meyer pulled that stunt where he went to the bar instead of flying back with the team, he should have been fired then and there. Like, that was a fireable offense. I don't understand why he did not get fired in that situation. But then it dawned on me. Well, Tony, Shad Khan probably doesn't want to waste money of hiring a coach and then having to fire him a year after. Well, that's why you don't make that type of business decision, Shad. So I have no sympathy for a billionaire who decided to make an idiot decision like that. Because, you think he a billionaire, so, they make such sound decisions and blah, blah, blah. Well, that wasn't a sound decision, was it? Because not even a full year, he is out of Jacksonville as the head coach. And like I said, you look at who he hired. You look at what he did in the college ranks and the dudes he protected in the college ranks and the people he aligned himself with in the college ranks and the things it's been reported he done and said. And like, the thing that really would have got me is, it was a report that came out that he kicked his kicker. I think I lost respect for the kicker when I heard the story, because it ain't no way. It ain't no way. You're not finna kick me and think that that we Gucci. Like, bro, I'm finna get up and beat your ass. Like, bro, it's no... What? Like, bro, I'm finna be all up in your face and everything, bro. It's about to be a whole scene, because I'm finna put my hands on you, dog.
I'm finna put my hands on you. Like, I'm probably not even gonna, depending on how hard that kick was and the malice that I felt behind, yeah, I'm about to put my hands on you, but we're not homies. My homies don't kick me. What? So that's another thing. Like, what we doing here? The kicker should have blessed him. He clearly approached you like he wanted problems. You should have gave it to him. And so, Urban Meyer clearly didn't respect his players. And like I said, this is not a man who came into this team wanting to coach them. This was a man coming into the team wanting to be over them. And he thought his power allowed him to be a disrespectful son of a bitch. And that's exactly what he was. And when you don't respect grown men, they know it. And they will act upon it. Because it ain't no grown man that's going to sit around and be disrespected left and right. Not going to happen. Not to mention, they already, from what the reports was, don't respect you after the little fiasco shit that you pulled after the Cincinnati game. So, I mean, in a lot of these dudes' eyes, you's a bitch anyways. So you lucky, like Shannon Sharp said, you got the right guy on the right day. Because if you had got the wrong guy on the right day, completely different story. Completely different story that we not just going to be hearing about right now. A couple months after the fact or whatever. And then going at your head coaches. See, this is the funny one to me. When the reports that came out a couple like last week about him going at his coaches' resumes and shit, talking about some, I'm a winner. What have y'all ever won in y'all career? Like, show me what y'all done great. Motherfucker, you hired them. What are we doing right now? This is what I'm saying. When you got a dude who don't respect nobody on the team or nobody who he feel is under him, these are the type of situations you got. And like I said, it gonna keep coming back to Shad Khan, the man who ultimately hired him. You can, I mean, what the fuck? How as one of the coaches on that team, I would have looked at this motherfucker and said, "You hired us. The fuck are you talking about right now? You hired us. How are you sitting here right now telling us this and you hired us?" We would have had problems. Because from what I'm basically hearing is that Urban Meyer was just a pure dickhead, was a pure disrespectful sack of shit who needed to be dealt with. That's what I'm hearing. And I think I said this on the podcast. Being disrespectful, one of the things that really get me going. Disrespectfulness and stupidity, just blatant stupidity. Sometimes the stupid stupidity gets me, but the disrespectfulness, man, especially that disrespectful shit for no reason because you believe you above me. That God complex, that better than you personality, you just can't have that. You just can't have it. And so you done lost your locker room basically because of your lack of respect for your locker room. You done lost your coaching staff because of your lack of respect for the coaching staff. What reason was there to continue to have him there? And I believe he would have got fired sooner if Trevor Lawrence had spoke out sooner. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that when Trevor Lawrence finally spoke out that Doofus Myer got fired. Hey, that kind of had a ring to it. Doofus Myer got fired, boys. So I don't think it's a coincidence. But it should have been happened, like I said, because you essentially just wasted 13 weeks that you will not get back of Trevor Lawrence's growth and development, which will turn into a full year's worth of his development. And like I said, last Sunday was just the culmination of everything that's been happening in that organization that Trevor Lawrence done had to deal with, which is something that no rookie quarterback should have to deal with. No young quarterback, or no quarterback for one, should have to deal with that shit, period. But a rookie quarterback who's first year in the league, trying to develop, trying to get stronger, trying to get smarter, trying to get better, trying to read coverages better, trying to understand coverages better, trying to get to know his receivers, his running game. And you at every turn basically undermine and stunt his development and his growth because of your ego, because of your inability to be a leader or a head coach. That's a problem. And like I said, he should have been fired sooner. But because you decided to wait so long, because you decided to hire him, period. And like I said, I've been saying this all year that this motherfucker was stunting Trevor's growth, and this was the worst situation in the league. But because you decided to wait so long, now you essentially have wasted an entire year of Trevor Lawrence's growth that he will not get back. And now, if you don't absolutely hit on this next head coach and he hit on his staff and shit, because you see, and I don't want to say that the next head coach, well, I'll get into that later. But if you don't absolutely hit on the head coach, now you risk stunting Trevor Lawrence's growth even more. Because like I said, he has not regressed. Trevor Lawrence is not regressing. Trevor Lawrence has not been developed yet. He has not had the opportunity to develop because he's in a situation that is so far and away incompetent and unprepared that he has no shot. It just is what it is. And so who do you get to replace Urban Meyer? Because you can fire him, but the hiring fact is still there, and the time that was wasted is still going to be there. That's time that we can't forget, and it won't come back. So now you have to maximize the time that Trevor Lawrence do have. Now, I know you're not essentially on the clock, but you are on the clock now because you wasted a whole year of this man's growth. So now you need to get a head coach in there that's going to accelerate his growth, that can help get him past this bad year, that can get him further along than a coach would have gotten him. Like next year, I don't need to see Trevor Lawrence finally doing shit that we expected him to be doing. No. I want to see Trevor Lawrence take some big steps from here on out, take some big leaps and bounds. So now you have to get, and that just ain't on Trevor Lawrence. Now you have to nail the head coach, because the head coach's job is to come in there, and his only job should be to come in there and develop Trevor Lawrence. That is the number one pick in the draft. That is who you are supposed to be protecting. That is the guy who is supposed to change this franchise. That is who your next head coach's priority, number one priority, have to be. If this motherfucker come into the room and the first thing he talk about ain't Trevor Lawrence when pertaining to this team, he needs to be escorted out of the room. The motherfucker need to walk into the office and say, hello, my name is such and such. Let me tell you how I'm going to help Trevor Lawrence and develop Trevor Lawrence. You got my ear. If this motherfucker walk into the room, let me tell you how we can make this team better. Goodbye, good afternoon, and good day, sir. I need to know, what are we going to do to get my number one pick, my franchise quarterback, up to par, up to date, ahead of schedule, and making shit happen. All this other shit comes second. I care about the running game, the defense, and all that shit. I want to know, what are we going to do to get Trevor Lawrence up to speed and back to that projected Hall of Fame status that we thought he was on when he was drafted. Because that's the stain in what you've done by hiring Urban Meyer and putting Trevor Lawrence through this little roller coaster experience right now. And I hate roller coasters. I didn't even know I hated roller coasters until I went to Carowinds one time, got on this little wooden ass roller coaster, shit damn near fucked my hip up, and then I got to the top of the roller coaster and realized, I can see the whole world right here, and if I fall, I am dead. Never got on another one. Actually, I did get on a couple more before the end of the day, and then it was just by the end of the day, that one kept haunting my memory, saying, roller coaster's not really worth that thrill anymore. I think I'm past that. And that was me at 18 years old. But, yeah, so who do you hire next, basically? Because like I said, the next coach got to come in there with the sole purpose of developing Trevor Lawrence. And that don't mean that the next coach got to be an offensive coordinator. That's not what that means. That don't mean your next coach got to, because you can run the risk of bringing in an offensive coordinator who not really a leader of men, and it end up being a Matt Nagy situation. So, or Buddy who was over there with the Jets situation. So, you got to find a dude who can lead men and also have the ability, or can put people in place to help with the development of Trevor Lawrence. Now, some of my candidates who I think could be a good fit. My number one candidate, Eric Bieniemy. I already know Eric Bieniemy has never been a head coach in the NFL, but here's why I believe he could be a leader of men. For one, he done led Patrick Mahomes and these studs on this team. That's a lot of egos to have to be able to control on that offense. That's a lot of egos to have to be able to control and keep in check on that offense. He done been learning behind Andy Reid, one of the best head coaches I've ever watched in my entire life. That's gotta mean something, right? Gotta mean something. If we give all these Bill Belichick disciples credit for being for being coaches and staff under Bill Belichick, then being a coach under Andy Reid got to stand for something too, especially seeing as how most of Andy Reid's disciples are good head coaches now. So we look at, and if you want examples, John Harbaugh, that's an Andy Reid disciple. Ron Rivera, that's an Andy Reid disciple. So next, we go to, also another reason I think Eric Bieniemy, he is an offensive coordinator who I've seen call great plays and help Patrick Mahomes. Now, if we give people credit for being with Brady and Rodgers and Peyton, then we got to give this man credit for helping the development of Patrick Mahomes, right? Exactly. So you got the help. He helped develop Patrick Mahomes. He runs a phenomenal offense over there with Patrick Mahomes. Over the last 2 weeks, he done shown you his value with his play calling with Patrick Mahomes in that offense. Now, some people might say, well, what would he be if he didn't have those type of weapons? What would anybody be if they didn't have the weapons that they have? Next question. So, Eric Bieniemy would be my number one choice. Now, the next choice was a funny one because he wasn't actually my first next choice, but then I thought about it and he became my next second best choice. Doug Peterson, former head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's my second choice that I think the Jacksonville Jaguars should go and get to help because his development, he's an offensive-minded head coach who could, well, no, he actually ain't, I don't believe. But anyways, he done developed, he done won a Super Bowl. He done turned the franchise around. We seen him develop a quarterback before. So I believe until Carson got hurt, they were rocking. Now, some people might choose to give all that credit to the head coach over there for the Colts right now, who I can't think of his name right now. And if you choose to do that, then ignore this pick. This ain't the pick for you. But I think Doug Peterson did a damn good job in Philadelphia. And the only reason he got fired or quit, from what reports were saying, is basically because he didn't want to basically fire the staff and do shit like that they was telling him to do. They basically wanted him to be a puppet, not a head coach. And he wasn't having it. Dougie P wasn't flowing with it. So I think because Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl, which Eric Bieniemy has won a Super Bowl also, not as a head coach, but he got a Super Bowl on his resume from being with the Chiefs offensive play caller. Like, y'all not going to disrespect Eric Bieniemy. I'm just be honest with you, bro. You're not going to do that in my presence. But Doug Peterson is a phenomenal pick because, like I said, he's been a leader of men. He's shown he can lead men. He's been a winning head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He's competed at the highest level. He's beaten Bill Belichick. I think that would be a phenomenal pick for that team, especially because I think he would be great at developing Trevor Lawrence and putting people in place, because it's not just about the head coach developing himself, putting people in place also to help him develop. So that would be my next pick. So my third pick would be one, and this was interesting. Byron Leftwich, the head offensive coordinator. I don't know why everybody give Bruce Arians. I understand Bruce Arians is an offensive player. He helped with the offensive play calling. It's technically his off. But Byron Leftwich is the one who Brady always talk about as the play caller. So that's who I'm going with. Brian Leftwich is the next one. Because like I said, if you're giving these dudes credit for being with Brady and Pat and Mahomes, with Peyton and Rodgers and Brees, well, you got to give Byron Leftwich for helping his play calling and the play calling he doing over there with Tom Brady, an advanced age Tom Brady and the Bucks. I also think he done been under Bruce Arians for the last couple years, which is huge because Bruce Arians is a great head coach. So that'd be huge. So I think now my first two picks with Eric Bieniemy and Doug Peterson is like my two picks, like by a landslide. Those would be my first two calls. The next couple picks is like the ones that I think you got to make if you can't get these Eric Bieniemy or Peterson. But those are my biggest two. But Leftwich will be my next one because he is an OC. Now, my only knock on Byron Leftwich is we haven't seen him really develop a young quarterback. We done seen him work with older quarterbacks like Brady. Who that other coach? I think he worked with Carson Palmer too, because I think he was over there with anyways, we seen him with Jameis, and I'm not really mad at his thing with Jameis because Jameis, had to make some better decisions here and there. But that would be the only complaint. But I think that would be a good candidate. But some people might say, oh, well, he never been there. I don't care about that. My next one, now this one might be interesting to you. Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. I like the offensive play calling for the Chargers. I like the way he called up the game plan for them. I think if he was the head coach of that team, Trevor Lawrence would absolutely have a fucking ball. with some of the play calls that they would be able to do. And that's one of the play callers. He one of them play callers who get his guys open. He gonna get you a lot of guys in a lot of wide open spaces and shit like that. And I think Trevor Lawrence will be his Justin Herbert basically. So I think I kind of like Joe Lombardi just as much as I like the Byron Leftwich, as a matter of fact. So let's switch that. Joe Lombardi would actually be my third pick. Byron Leftwich would be my fourth one. But Joe Lombardi would be my third pick because I like his offensive play calling with the Chargers right now. And I know a lot of people want to just give credit to Herbert, but he is a guy who helped with who changed and adapted his play calling a little bit when Herbert was struggling a little bit. And if you give Kurt Herbert credit for all the success he done had this year, you got to give Lombardi some type of success because he done been a stud for Herbert these last 2 years. So Joe Lombardi would definitely be my third pick. I love his play calling. I think that would be an enormous help to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence development. My next three picks is weird ones, okay? So my next three picks is all defensive-minded head coaches. One of them has never been a head coach. But the reason I have them on here is because I think they are good leaders of men. Their players love them, especially two of them. And I think even though they're not offensive coordinators, if they could put in place, see, two of them I'm really scared for, but the other one I'm not sure of yet. But if these three men could put people in position to help with that's why I say it's not just on the coach to be an offensive-minded coach to develop him, while that would help. You got to be able to put people in place that's going to work with him every day. The offensive coordinator you could put in place, the quarterback coach. You know, it's different things that a head coach can put in place to help with the development of Trevor Lawrence. So that's why these next three dudes is on my list. And these is all just bunched in. They ain't really in no place. Mike Zimmer, Rex Ryan, Wink Martindale. Now, all three of them dudes is defensive-minded coaches. Wink has never been a head coach. Rex has. Zimmer has. Now, I don't know if Rex even have a desire to be a head coach again. I'm pretty sure he do, if given the opportunity. Mike Zimmer is not fired, or rather he is still the head coach of the Vikings. So basically I'm saying if he get fired from the Vikings, which I've been thinking he was going to do all year, I thought he was going to get fired. If he do get fired from the Vikings, I think that would be a good choice. But I'm actually going to say never mind on that one. I actually going to say never mind on the Mike Zimmer one. Because the more and more I done thought about it, the more and more I am less impressed with the what he done with Kirk Cousins. Now, what I will say is he do put offensive play callers in place to I do think he do a good job with the hiring of offensive play callers, because Kevin Stefanski was a good offensive play. My problem is I don't know how the quarterback position haven't been able to be consistently good for him through this type of play calling, because there's sometimes where they just absolutely run the ball to the death. They make Kirk Cousins throw it on only third downs when it's predictable and shit. Sometimes it's very confusing on how they play him, and then sometimes they'll let him loose, and then at the end of games just completely avert back to what was losing them games. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to break down Zimmer a little bit more, but I don't feel like doing it right now. So take him off the list. Rex Ryan and Wink Martindale is two dudes who, to me, definitely could be able to turn this shit around with. I think Rex could come in and turn Jacksonville around in 1 year. In 1 year, just based on how much people. Now, see, Rex's problem is he wasn't great at managing games and the clock and shit like that. Rex done been around long enough, though, to where he should be able to know either he done got better at it or he know to put better people in position. Rex could come in and turn that defense around immediately. Like, I already know off of Rex's history, Rex will come in and fix the defense. I have no doubt about that. The offensive side of the ball is where I don't want Rex to revert back to ground and pound. I don't want Rex to go back to that. And I don't think Rex will. Because Rex, like he said oftentimes, he had Mark Sanchez, not motherfucking Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Rex will go into this situation already knowing he got a Trevor Lawrence. So he got a quarterback. So I believe he will put the absolute best possible head coaches in place to help with the development of Trevor Lawrence. Not the running game, Trevor Lawrence. And everybody who done played for Rex Ryan has loved Rex Ryan. So I don't understand why this man ain't in the NFL right now, but I think Rex Ryan would be a phenomenal head coaching choice for this team. Not as great as Doug, Eric, or Byron, and that's only because, or Lombardi, and that's only because of how long he done been out of the game.
But I'm telling you, if you tell me right now Rex Ryan is the next head coach of Jacksonville, I'm going to be ecstatic because I'm going to say that is a culture-changing head coach. Rex Ryan changes the culture of the Jacksonville Jaguars immediately upon hire. And players are instantly going to fall in love with him. And can you imagine the players that Rex could bring over to be part of his staff and the staff members he would bring over? I'm telling you right now, Rex Ryan would not be a bad move for that Jacksonville head coaching spot. And the reason I think Wink would be a great position for that head coach for that position is because Wink should have been gotten a head coaching position already. He haven't. Wink's a great defensive mind. Now, I don't like the Wink started the season off a little rough. He had to deal with these injuries and figure his way through it. He has figured his way through it. That right there shows you that he is a coach who can adjust on the fly. If you give him a little bit of time, he can make changes in his game plan and fix what he needs to fix. He done proven it multiple years now. So that is a dude who gives me confidence as a head coach. He would make the necessary adjustments. He would be able to learn and be taught even as a head coach. That's a big thing when coaches are not too egotistical to change their game plans or make adjustments in their game plan, which is why I think Wink Martindale would be a great head coach for that position. And not just that, it's something about having a dude who can grow with his quarterback. A dude who done been in the league for a long time. He probably done got opportunities to be a head coach. He probably haven't. He probably done had the meetings and whatnot. But when he finally landed a job and he get his quarterback, kind of like Chuck Pagano when he got Andrew Luck, they just able to make magic happen sometimes. And I think, Wink, all his defensive players love him. Everybody love Wink Martindale. So now you got another Rex Ryan situation where all the players are going to love the coach. So now you get yourself a players coach who will still, enforce, discipline. I'm telling you, the Wink Martindale and Rex Ryan is two sleepers that I really, really fucking like for the Jags. But it's a good thing they finally got that bozo up out of there. That is Urban Meyer. Like I said, it was no excuses for him being hired for that position. Should not have happened. But it did. And you killed Trevor Lawrence's growth for a whole year. The man did not progress at all. And I knew it was bad when I saw people going at him on Twitter last week and the week before. And that's when I instantly said to myself, oh man, it's done started. It's done gotten so bad that now they looking past him and saying, they looking past Urban and saying, well, you can't fix this, because they don't realize how bad the situation truly was. No, he could not fix this. This is not Peyton Manning, who been in the league for years. It's not Tom Brady, who been in the league for years. This is a rookie quarterback needing guidance. This is a rookie quarterback looking to be coached. So, good for Jacksonville finally firing him. I think they need to force that motherfucker Shad Khan to fucking sell the team. But that's a podcast for another day. I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kickin' It with Saint podcast, man. The Chiefs and the Chargers game was absolutely unfucking believable. Pat Mahomes is back. The fucking Chiefs are unreal how great those two studs are on offense with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Just two godly players. I hope y'all like the card edits of both of those two guys, the Game Changer series. I think both of them studs is absolutely dope. I don't know if I done made a Pat Mahomes one yet because I plan on it, but I don't know by the time this podcast drop if I did or didn't do it. But if his is out, if I did do one for him, I hope that y'all like that one also. I appreciate y'all for listening. I appreciate y'all for clicking this video. I hope y'all have a dope fucking day, a dope fucking weekend. Hey man, it's Friday, bro. It's Friday. It's Friday, sis. Enjoy yourselves, man. Tell somebody you love them, man. Saint out. I fuck with y'all.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado, free smoke. Look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga, that's what we do, no foundation. We don't